Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. It is Friday, the 29th of August, 2025. It's 11 a.m. Central European Time, 9 a.m. UTC. This is the morning show after the night before. The Oracle streamed last night and gave you some price predictions for where he thought Bitcoin, Ethereum, even Crow was going to go over the next few days. Now, I am not here to go through his price predictions. But what I'm going to do today, as well as the X-Files, as well as all the bits of news that we're going to talk about, I'm also going to look at the Bitcoin chart because I think we need to look at Bitcoin. I think we need to talk about Bitcoin. I put a tweet out basically saying that Bitcoin was going to go below 100,000. I'm going to explain why I've done that. Also going to explain why that does not coincide with the target I have given for Bitcoin. So we have what's called an inflection point. Bitcoin can go in one of two directions, and that sounds like I'm sitting on the fence. I am not sitting on the fence. I'm going to try and tell you the two directions I think we can go in. As well as that, today we're going to talk about Cathie Wood. We are going to talk about World Liberty Financial, or World Liberty Finance. We're going to talk about their coin that's launching on the 1st of September. Should you buy it? I don't know, but we're going to have a look at that together. We're going to look at Solana. We're going to look at Crow. Why is it ripped up so far and so quickly? We're going to look at Base, and we're going to look at Pyth. And then we're going to look at some layoffs in one of my least favorite metaverses. All of that to come. Before we do any of that, we, of course, are going to go and look at the charts, have a look at where Bitcoin is, and see if one of my two prophecies is going to come true. Let me just boot this up, and we will get going. There we go. Now then, a few things. We are live on Binance Square as well as Binance Live. We have had a few teething problems with Binance Square, so I am keeping an eye on it today, simply because it keeps being turned off or the stream is being cut. I don't know which it is, so I'm going to keep an eye on it today and see if it goes off at any point. Now, Bitcoin below 110,000 and coming down. Ethereum back to $4,300. XRP way below $3. BNB is down. Solana is, however, holding on to $200, but for how much longer we don't know. Cardano is retracing back to its safe space at 80 cents. Chainlink is there back below $25. So a lot of uncertainty in the market. And uncertainty makes people feel a little bit worried. And I don't think you need to be, because all of this is part of the grand plan. Have you been watching Crypto Warehouse for the last 2 months? You will know what we have been talking about, and that is a correction between now and the end of September. We're at the end of August. Now, this is the last Friday of August. August is the one of the 3 months of the year where Bitcoin traditionally doesn't do too well. The next one, September, is of course another month where Bitcoin doesn't do too well. So we're not having a really good moment for Bitcoin. We're going to have a bad moment for Bitcoin, but that has to happen before the storm passes and the sun comes out. So I'm here to try and explain to you not to worry. You're on a roller coaster. You might have never been on this roller coaster before. I am here to tell you that this roller coaster goes up as well as down. And of course, the title of the stream today is Testing Times, because it's going to test your patience. It's going to test your ability to hold on to your Bitcoin. And that's the most important thing. Now, a few good mornings before we begin. In chat, we have Danny, we have Hidden. Protagonist is in chat. Nikola Tesla has joined us from the past. Good morning to you as well. But there's not many people in chat today. And again, the number of people in chat is has a direct correlation to how well Bitcoin is doing. If Bitcoin is doing incredibly well, everybody comes into chat, types hello, how you doing, all of those kind of things. And when we don't do well, when we start to come down, people just don't want to hear about crypto. And that is human nature. That is human nature. That is how it works. Now let's have a look at the gainers and the losers then. Pith is up. We're going to talk about that today. 4 is up. Athena is up. Pump.fun, please don't go near this token. Not a fan of it. And not many others. I'm expecting to see a bloodbath today, especially. SPX is down 15. Kronos is down 15, sorry. SPX is down 12. Again, had you been following me on X, I've put a tweet out today that I'm actually going to bring up in a minute. I kind of almost got the top of Kronos in my tweet, and I've given you some price targets for where we can come down to. Aerodrome at 114. That is not a bad price. Hype, again. I think shorting Hype is not a bad move either. Hype filled a space and a gap that Binance couldn't fill. And now Binance is about to fill that gap. So Hype, for me, could be a coin that sees an awful correction over the next coming months. Pendle is down, Radium is down. There's a few others down. I mean, we don't need to go into all of them. Just be aware that maybe some of those coins are not going to bounce back as high or as long or as far as you think. Let's move on. We're going to look at some X-Files before we get into the news. Yeah, there is, Danny. It's one of those things. It's one of those things. I suppose it's a little bit like being a Man United supporter. When they win, they've got 300 million fans. But when they lose, they've got 100,000 fans. And personally, I'm all for having 100,000 fans. As Alex Ferguson once said, if you can't support us when we are losing, don't support us when we are winning. And I like that. Right, just in, S&P 500 reaches all-time high of 6,500. If we are reaching all-time highs on the S&P, why is Bitcoin not doing so well? We're going to have a look at that in a minute. But again, if you've got stonks, they will be doing incredibly well right now, I imagine. I think NVIDIA had a earnings call the last few days. Maybe that's done incredibly well. I haven't seen anything about NVIDIA at all. Q2 GDP revised up at 3.3%, beating expectations. Experts are furious. Again, whether it is predicting the direction of an economy, whether it is predicting the future, you've got to remember that experts are useless. They all are. Look at all of the experts in crypto. They told you we'd be at $100,000 last year. They told you that we'd be at $250,000 by August. They told you we will be at $1 million by the end of the year. I guarantee you every one of these clowns will be wrong by January the 1st, 2026. Every one of them is going to be wrong, okay? And then you'll get the apology. Our models need updating. We're going to revise our models. We're going to have better data. You might as well ask a tree in a forest, because that's as much useful information you will get than listening to these clowns. They have been predicting the end of the global markets. And guess what? America is doing better than expected. Why? Because they got it wrong. They are fearmongers because they sell their news based on fear. We're not going to go down that route today. Okay. It all appears... Did that freeze? Just let me check this is working. Because if this has gone off again, then we have a problem. So just let me refresh this. And make sure it comes back on. Because if this has gone off, I've no idea what is wrong with Binance Square. But if I'm here, if you see my beautiful little face in the corner, then you know it's working. But if it's gone off again, I don't know what the problem is, and we're going to have to speak to Binance about it. There we go. Okay, so it is working. Brilliant. Right. Bitcoin has always been powerful as an idea. Now it has become a powerful form of collateral. We're proud to support Lombard Finance's launch of LBTC on Solana from Seamless Swaps in DupeLend as a supported asset. Now, I've been talking about this for about 6 months now. We've been talking about Solve Protocol on Binance. We've been talking about Lombard Bitcoin. We've been talking about Maple and maybe Maple having Syrup BTC. We've been talking about this for a long time, and I'm going to keep showing you these things because where liquid staking tokens and Bitcoin collide, you get liquid Bitcoin. And that is where you have a custodian or a blockchain like Solve who will provide a platform to earn yield off Bitcoin. And the likes of Binance can offer those services to their clients. And I keep saying probably within the next year, it may be 2 years, but certainly the next year, Binance will have 4-5 different Bitcoin yield options available outside of the simple earn that they have that pays whatever it is, 0.3%. I'm expecting Binance to have Solve. I'm expecting Binance to have Lombard. I'm expecting Binance to have something to do with Syrup BTC or Core DAO or something along those lines, because it's the most untapped market in crypto and the biggest market in crypto. So if you are on Binance today, you can go and earn a yield on your Bitcoin using Solve BTC, and it's not the only one. And the other benefit to this is because it is a synthetic version of Bitcoin, liquid Bitcoin can go across any blockchain. It can go across Solana, Ethereum, Base, Kronos, AVAX, the layer 2s on Ethereum. You can have LBTC on every chain as long as there is enough liquidity. Now, I've made a video about Syrup USDC, which I haven't edited yet, in which I explain how the price works on Syrup USDC. And that applies to every liquid staking token, by the way. So let's say, for example, LBTC on Solana, it goes from $110,000 to $60,000, and it depegs. You would buy that Bitcoin at $60,000 and be able to redeem it with Lombard directly for $110,000. So it's all well and good thinking, well, how does it keep its peg? How does it keep its price? The same way that Circle and Tether keep the dollar at $1, because they know it's redeemable directly with Circle and Tether. The problem arises when you have a stable coin or a yield-bearing coin that you believe cannot be redeemed. And that is where the problem arises, not from it holding peg. Market forces hold all of these things together. Now, before we go on, I'm going to very quickly show you my tweet that I put out today. And again, I am not doing this out of any kind of I told you so. It's not about that. So Crow went from 12, 14, 15 cents all the way up to 35 cents this week. And I put this tweet out here. Take those profits. And that red arrow you can see on your screen, that is where I tweeted out. Now, as you can see, the wick went higher than my tweet, but the candle closed pretty much at my tweet. And since my tweet, we are down 20%. And this is not, as I said, this is not an I told you so. This is whenever you believe it's going to go higher, take profits. Whenever you believe it's going to go lower, start to dollar cost average in. So, for example, Bitcoin, we're going to talk about it right now. I think Bitcoin could very easily drop to 107,000 today, 106,000 today. You could start dollar cost averaging in from 107,000. That's what I would say. Now, there isn't a particular rhyme or reason for this because, of course, the S&P is at all-time highs, but we're going to cover it in a second. But the point of this is I take profits every time one of my coins rips, whether it be Syrup, whether it be Crow, whether it be... I'm trying to think of other coins. I don't normally sell Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, but any altcoin that I have that has ripped up, I will sell. And you will see on the screen there, and this one is for Packer, you will see that I have written Pith Sell with a question mark, and we're going to cover that in a second. So the point of this is showing you that when you reach peak euphoria, that's a good time to take some profits. Now, had you sold at 35 cents, the chances are you're going to be able to buy back in at the targets that the Oracle gave you last night, which is 27 cents and 22 cents. So let's say you did sell at 35 cents. You are going to get 1.5 Crow for every Crow you sold. So if you sold 100 Crow 2 days ago, you'll be able to buy 150 Crow for the exact same amount of money if it goes to 22, 23 cents. So it's not about you losing faith in BNB, losing faith in Crow, losing faith in any of these altcoins. It's about accumulating them. And yes, you can just sit there and ride it up, ride it down, ride it up, ride it down. I've done that with Bitcoin for the last 9 years, 8 years, something like that. Same with Ethereum. I've ridden Ethereum since it was $70. And I've ridden it all the way up and all the way down and all the way up because they are my kind of holds. With altcoins like Crow and like Syrup, if Syrup goes to 60 or 70 cents in the next 6 weeks, which isn't likely, but let's say it does, then I'm going to sell a big bag of syrup because I got that syrup at a lot less than 60, 70 cents. And then what I will do is I'll sit on cash, and if it retraces back to 30 or 40 cents, I'll buy back in again. So this isn't a kind of I'm packing in my bags. This is just about you making a bigger bag of Crow or Sol or any coin you can think of. If Solana, if the news about the ETF comes out that it's going to go live in October and it starts to run up towards $300, $350, take the profit. Take the profit and wait for a retracement. Wait for the FOMO to die down. And that is where you will make some pretty big gains. Tectonic, yep, very good project. There's a lot of good projects on Cronos. A lot of good projects on Cronos. We, of course, have our Wolf Swap logo in the bottom right-hand corner because we believe in a lot of different projects over there. And, you know, we're looking at the predictions market. We're looking at stable coins. We're looking at lots of things over there. Now, this is the chart that I have drawn. And you will see, if we go back to kind of applicable to the Crow price action this week, we are so rich, it is all over. When we broke up here to $124,000, everybody was calling for $150,000. And what happened? We came down to $108,000. When we start to get down here, in this zone here, you are going to see people telling you that we are going down here. It's all over. And this is the extreme point of view, simply because crypto is all about extremes, because that gets you clicks. If I made every video I ever made with my head in my hands and me looking really, really sad and crying and, you know, whatever it might be, you are going to sit there and probably stop believing me after a while. But people who don't know me will click on my links. And that's what they want to do. They want to click on links to see what it's all about. And I try and avoid that. And if I do it with a little bit of humor a lot of the time, such as the fact that my mouth is on fire. So what do I think is going to happen? First of all, the red line that I drew has come to pass, has it not? Which we kind of drew the line probably about here. And we've followed it pretty well all the way down, and look where we are now. We are in the zone where we can do Maybe we do that and put in a higher low. Fine. Absolutely fine. But this line I've drawn down here, I've drawn this line for a reason. Okay, and that's the top of the bull market support band, which is 107,400 or thereabouts. And then the line beneath that is coming in at 106.6. It's very, very tight. That is very, very tight. We go down here to the chunky end, and at one point the difference was 102 to 98. So that's a $3,500 gap. We've got a $1,000 gap at the minute. So if we do break through the bull market support band, it's a very tight band to break to, and it could snap. Now, again, these are the areas I am looking at for a kind of bottom for Bitcoin. And the reason is, this is pretty much on that psychological line of 100,000. And what I see happening is a potential wick like that here. Maybe to 96,000, which was what I said a few weeks ago. I think 96,000. I know the Oracle and KB and a few others, they've all been saying 86,000. I'm going to hang on to 100,000 and 96,000. That's my target. And again, this might not happen today. We might have the bounce, and that's the poll question of the day, by the way, which is, if I go and have a look, it's a 50-50 split on whether we are going to bounce today. Now, if we do bounce, and my prediction is that we bounce, I may have got this a little bit out, and maybe this was the bounce here, and maybe we come down a little bit further, and then we go back up. So maybe I'm a little bit out. Maybe I'm a little bit out. But either way, we're either going to do this move next, and then we come down, or we skip all of the foreplay, and we just come straight down today. And again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't proclaim to have a crystal ball, but I sense when things get overheated, such as the Crow chart. I sense when we could see this. Now, there's been a lot of people liquidated. I think there was $100 million worth of liquidations in the hour before we went live. So if we see cascading liquidations, we're going to break down towards 106,000, 107,000 today. If we get some really, really bullish news come out today, we're back at 112, 114,000. But we are at that point. I mean, it's hard to kind of explain, but this entire move here, we kind of called. Because I was saying, we've just broken up. It's temporary. And again, we could say the same thing down here. We've broken below. It could be temporary. But there is an inflection point here that there wasn't here. This wasn't an inflection point. This was a FOMO all-time high. This is an inflection point for me. We either go to the bull market support band now, or we go to the bull market support band in 3 weeks' time. And either way, we're going to come to it. And I don't know what news is going to come out. If the S&P is at 6,500, why are we now below 110,000? Is there a move today to push us to the upside? Because Bitcoin does lag the S&P. So that's the reason we go up. Just let me turn this off for a second because my phone is going 10 to the dozen. Right, put that on. There we go. We're on mute. So I think either we go up today or we go down today, but what we don't do is stay where we are. And that sounds like a typical sitting on the fence job. But as the people that watched me up here will tell you, I didn't sit on the fence there. And I didn't sit on the fence on this move. I am sitting on the fence now because at some point we have to do one of these things. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time kind of giving you what I thought was going to happen with Bitcoin. And again, some of the calls in chat were really, really good at the start of the week, calling for Ethereum to come down to $4,400. That was a good call. I think that was Simon said that he was going to do that. I know the Oracle is looking at some shorts. And again, what he's going to do is he's looking at shorts if we go up. On a lot of the coins that he's looking at, we're waiting for a move to the upside, and then he's going to short. And that ties in with what I'm looking at, which is basically we bounce today and then come down, or we just come down and then bounce. And it's one of those two things. Now, Cathie Wood's ARK Invest buys $15.6 million of BMNR, which I think is Bitmine. That is Tom Lee's ETH treasury. Now, the only reason Cathie Woods buys is when she sees value in premiums. So what I mean by that is, for every $10 million Tom Lee's company buys, it could very well add $12 million to the value of his company. So if you're thinking, why doesn't Cathie Wood just go and buy an Ethereum ETF? Is because that's pretty much spot. What she's looking for is value. And she is an absolute master at finding premium. She sold companies when you think, why is she sold out of that? She's taking profits. That's what you should all do. And now she's buying into Bitmine simply because Tom Lee and his face, they're on everything. He's on every CNN, CNBC channel, Fox News, Fox Business. He's everywhere. And he is shilling his company. But as I said on Twitter this week, don't trust anybody whose job depends on number go up. And that includes Cathie Wood. That includes Tom Lee. That includes Michael Saylor. Don't believe any of them. Do not worship false idols. Now, there may very well be traders out there who are fantastic, that you make a lot of money out of. Brilliant. They're making the same money as you are out of those trades. What these people are doing is different, is they are shilling on a huge scale their projects. Michael Saylor is shilling Bitcoin through Strategy. Tom Lee is shilling Ethereum through Bitmine. Cathie Wood is shilling ARK Invest. They all have their own, they're all snake oil salesmen. Snake woman's salesmen, actually, as well. So don't believe them. Listen to them, because they will come out with a lot of alpha. But please don't take them for gospel. If Tom Lee tells you that Ethereum is going to $60,000 and Bitcoin is going to $1 million, he can't say one without the other. He can't say Ethereum is going to go to $60,000 and Bitcoin is going to go to 200, 300,000, because that doesn't work. So his really simple playbook is to sound bullish on both. Look at Michael Saylor. He doesn't care about Ethereum. He doesn't care about Solana. He cares about Bitcoin. Where's Bitcoin going? $1,100 million. And everyone believes him. Everyone puts a picture of him up dressed as a gladiator in shining armor. Don't believe them all. We're not going to go near those targets. And when we don't go near those targets, they will find reasons why they are right and it was the market that got it wrong. Cathie Wood has expanded its crypto exposure this week with a fresh 15.6 million purchase of Bitmine Immersion Tech, BMNR, despite the stock closing down 7.85% on the day. According to the daily trading update on August 27th, the firm acquired 339,000 shares of it across 3 of its exchange-traded funds. There you go. There's Cathie. Cathie is a degen. She is fantastic. I love her, but I don't have to believe everything she says. I love Michael Saylor. Some of his presentations are absolutely fantastic. I don't have to believe everything he has to say. You don't have to be black and white in this day and age, no matter what people tell you. If I like cheese sandwiches and you like tomato sandwiches, and we agree on 99.8% of everything that goes on, why would you stop being my friend just because I like cheese sandwiches and you like tomato sandwiches? That's the world we're in. You can take knowledge from people that you don't wholly agree with, and that is a really important lesson in life. Cathie Wood shows confidence in Ethereum with fresh Bitmine buys. The investment builds on ARK's earlier accumulation, which has surpassed $200 million in purchases this summer. The decision shows Wood's growing confidence in their strategy. Again, this is a really solid play from Cathie. Why? Because she's Bitcoin and she's Ethereum. At some point, she's going to go Sol, and bigger Sol, then she's already gone. Because if you remember, I told you a couple of weeks ago, she's already invested in that Solana ETF, staking ETF in Canada, I think it was. So she's already in Solana, she's in Ethereum, she's in Bitcoin. This woman is everywhere, okay? She's like the Hokta girl, just a little bit wiser and a little bit richer. Last month, ARK offloaded $90 million worth of Coinbase and $57 million in Roblox while adding exposure to Bitmine. Again, she takes profits, she moves them on. She takes profits, she moves them on. It's what she does. And she's very, very, very good at it. If you want somebody to follow who is in tech and you want to follow their trades, you follow Cathie Wood. And that is not financial advice, but if somebody said to me, who is a person to copy the trades of, who is in kind of tech and crypto, Cathie Wood is the Warren Buffett of tech stock. There is nobody that comes close to her in terms of her being present and available and for interviews, and she's got real knowledge, and she's the top dog. Absolutely 100% the top dog. Is the Trump-linked World Liberty Financial token a good buy? Now, I posed this question to you guys on Monday. Good morning, Tariq. And is there a way of silencing the bear? We don't want the bear in chat. I know why the bear is in chat, because the bear gave me the wrong wallet address for his Mew. That's why the bear's in chat. He's checking up on me. He's making sure I'm here. All he's going to go and do is sell that Mew and buy honey. That's all the bear's going to do. So anyway, I'll let you into a little secret. Let me go up on the full screen. Okay, wrong one. That's the right one. I'm going to let you into a little secret. I occasionally send my friends, and I do have them, okay? I do have friends. I send them little voice notes or little videos of coins that I think they should buy or stocks that they should buy. And it's very, very rare that I do that. And I can tell you off the top of my head, probably the last 4 coins I've sent people. Syrup was one when it was at 14 cents. Coinbase before the token, the stock launched. I told them I was going to try and get it below $30. That was 2. Another was another real-world asset project that I'm not going to mention the name of on this channel because they're not listed on Binance. And then the other one is World Liberty Financials. Now, there is a reason behind this, and that reason is very simple. Have you seen who the board are of World Liberty Financials? Should we show you? Let me get this typed right. Now, I've changed my light because I've started to look really, really suntanned, and I think it's the lighting. So I've changed the lighting, and it's bright white, and I've got the microphone in front of me. So when you see me doing this and moving my head around, it's to try and get the glare of the light off my face. Now then, I want to show you this very quickly, and I want to explain the logic behind what I'm going to do and why that logic is at complete odds with everything I have ever told you. Now, this is the team that runs World Liberty Financial. Now, Donald is there. Eric is there. Donald Trump Jr. is there. Barron is there. 4 of the 12 people on your screen are Trumps. You then have, as one of my friends pointed out, the token lady in the bottom right-hand corner. Then you have a few degens, and then you have a few men in suits. Now, this token, for me, is a proxy president token. And what I mean by that is that even though Donald Trump is there, he's not allowed to take part. But what he is allowed to do is send Eric and Donald and Barron to go and meet the likes of Justin Sun, go and meet other leaders of nations who might want to set up a crypto reserve. And they can go and do that for the next 3.5 years, and nobody's going to bat an eyelid because he's the president of America. Now, they are about to launch a token, and it's going to be on Binance. In fact, Binance is a 10%, sorry, Trump, I believe, or Truth Media, or Trump, whatever they're called. I think they took a 10% stake in Binance. I think they're actually shareholders of Binance. Are we still running? In the background? Yes, we are still running. Okay, so that's the only logic I'm going to present to you about this token. And that is, it's going to be pumped for the next 3.5 years. I have seen crypto people, non-crypto people, American news journalists all talk about this token. Now, this is going to go live on the 1st of September, which is probably 3 days from now. So what's that, Monday? Is it Monday, I think? It's going to launch on the 1st of September alongside its stablecoin, which is USD1. Claims to be fully backed by cash and short-term US treasuries. In a detailed post, synonymous trader Haweem noted that unlike other stablecoins where interest income benefits corporate shareholders, USD1's yield is funneled via smart contracts into systematically buying and burning WLFI, making the token both governance-based and deflationary. Okay? So let me put that into context. Let's say that USD1 has a market cap of $1 billion. And let's say conservatively it makes 4%. That is, $40 million a year worth of WLFI1 being burnt. Now, that's a massive positive. Adding to the intrigue, the Trump family is directly tied to the project, with Donald J. Trump listed as co-founder. His sons hold the major shareholding alongside a few other people. He argued that despite the Ponzi-like dynamics, the tokenomics could drive a powerful launch. There are so many pop-up windows. There we go. Only 5% of the supply will circulate initially, with institutions, and there's some listed there, invested at lower entry prices, reportedly armed with billions in dry powder to support the market. This creates a reflexive loop of scarcity, buy pressure, and insider firepower, priming WLFI for a violent pump despite skepticism. While critics warn fully diluted FDV is inflated and the insiders will eventually dump their tokens, the short-term setup favours a liquidity squeeze reminiscent of Trump. What's next? They advised traders to ride the launch pump, avoid overexposure long-term, and watch for another liquidity-driven cycle peak in Q4. Now, again, this, and I do have them from time to time, this is going to be my degen play. So I am going to buy some WLFI tokens. I don't know what price I'm going to get them at. I know what price it's launching at, which I think is about 40 or 60 cents. It's going to go over $2 more than likely. And I've got some dry powder that I'm going to buy that token with. I do not advise anybody to buy that token without due diligence. Alpha, that is the $1 million question. I think the problem is, for me, WLFI token is the new token that hasn't launched. It's going to launch on the 1st of September. The problem is with this token and with Circle. Circle, I wanted to buy at $20 to $30. It went over $100. There's nothing I'm going to do about that. This token is likely to launch at 60 cents or thereabouts. If it goes north of $3 or $4, I am not touching it. Okay, because it will the value of the token will be too high. I will wait for a retracement, and I did this with Dupe. My strategy on Dupe was very simple. I think leveraging it would be a absolutely degen great idea. I would long the hell out of it. The day it opens, long it, and then close your long as soon as you can, or move your stop loss into profits on this token. Because the one thing I've learned in crypto is that tokenomics and economics and common sense go out the window. And you may have noticed that I try and keep those things as long as possible. And I try and have conviction plays. And my conviction play has always been Chainlink, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Cardano, the tokens. I talk about them all the time. They're my conviction plays. I believe I have conviction in those projects. Crow, I was telling you all for months, if not years, that this would come good. Okay? Now, how it was going to come good, I didn't know. Of course, I'm not going to know what happens. WLFI token is going to have a very good 3 years. And I don't know how else to put it other than there's nothing I can say about the tokenomics that's going to matter. The Trump meme coin is not the same thing, and that comparison is wrong. I also tweeted a few weeks ago, and a few days ago actually, and I said that by the end of this term, the Trump family will be one of the richest families in the world. And they are trying to make as much money out of crypto in 3.5 years, 4 years in total, as possible. And if you know that piece of information, and you know they're going to launch a token, then you also know that in potentially 3 years' time, they're going to dump on you. You know that. And they will basically drip feed the cash out over a year. You know that. Absolutely. You also know if you walk up to an alligator and put your arm out, it's going to bite you. So what do? You get as close to the alligator as possible and then walk away. And that is what I'm going to do with this token. I am going to buy it at the most reasonable price I think I can get it at. And then I'm going to sell it way in advance. If I buy it for $1, $2, and it goes to $8, $10, $12, I'm selling it. If it goes to $1 or $2 and then comes down to 80 or 60 cents, I'm going to buy it. Okay? Something's going to happen to pump that coin. And again, logic goes out the window. And I understand all of that, which is why I'm not telling you to buy it. Simon longing it is probably the best thing you could do. But let's say it goes live on the 1st and it dumps and it goes to 20 or 30 cents. I am buying a big bag of that coin. There is no way on earth that the Trump ego will allow that project to fail. And simply because of that, and simply because he's the most powerful man on earth, there is no way that token is going to fail. And I don't care about the tokenomics. I don't care about it, the supply circulation. He's in it to make him and his mates money, and you should read the room on that, in my opinion. The same way you should read the room when Chris walks in and shakes the hand of Donald Trump, and then you look at the donors, and you see the donors are Chris Marszalek, you see the donors are Justin Sun, who is currently visiting Justin Sun as we speak. I think it's Eric Trump is visiting him as we speak. He was a massive donor. Read the room. Okay? Promises made, promises kept. And Trump is paying back the promises that he made when those people donated. So Crow isn't going to fail. Tron isn't going to fail. World Liberty Financial isn't going to fail. They're not going to fail. Trump token, Trump meme coin, that was a whiskey and cigar lol on a multi-million-dollar scale. That wasn't Justin Sun, though. That wasn't Justin Sun that pumped the price up. Somebody said it was, and it wasn't. What Justin Sun is doing is he read the room a year ago, and he got in with the Trump administration. You can't buy it now. Can't buy it until the 1st. What chain is it on? I don't know. I'd imagine it would be on Ethereum. That would be my guess. And I think you'll be able to buy it everywhere. I think you'll be able to buy it on Binance. Absolutely. And again, I'm all on this. I think this is the coin. This is the play of September for me. I don't have many plays. Syrup was April. And between then and now, the only other token that I really like is Compute 3 AI, and that's COM, which is the decentralized AI project. Absolutely love that project to bits. They have problems which are more about their image rather than anything else. Nidos is the lead of Compute 3, and he's a geek. I love him to bits. I think he's passionate, but their entire project is not understandable by the average person, and I think that's the next video I'm going to make about that. Solana Treasury Firm DeFi development purchases 407,000 SOL following equity raise. Again, we're not going to spend too long on some of these because it's not important. 11:45, and we have a lot to talk about, so we're going to skip over this one. Suffice to say, I'm on board with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana and BNB treasuries. I'm on board. I am not on board with a Pengu treasury or a Doge treasury or a Sui treasury. I am not on board with them. And I said a few days ago why, and I'm not going to go over it again because we don't have enough time. And it's a Friday. We're supposed to have fun on a Friday. Are we not? Are we still live on Binance? Why does this keep freezing on Binance? The funniest thing about Binance is the people who just ask you for $1,000. Can you just send me $1,000? Can you send me 2 BNB? I'm like, we don't get paid a single cent to stream on Binance. We don't get paid Binance Square. We don't get paid on Binance Live. We don't get paid a cent to stream on Binance. But it's Binance. We like to get involved with the community over there. Are we still live? Let's wait for this to load. Yeah, we are. Okay. Sorry about this. I keep checking on Binance because the last 2 or 3 streams it's cut off. What is Cronos and how does it work? Is Crow the biggest sleeper crypto of 2025? Cronos is a multi-chain blockchain built by this exchange, designed for DeFi, NFTs, gaming, AI, and real-tail adoption, powered by the Crow token. Crow utility spans payments, staking, governance, and rewards, offering perks like Visa cashback, free streaming subscriptions, and boosted DeFi. This isn't a promotion of Crypto.com, by the way. The Cronos roadmap targets ZK EVM scaling, cross-chain expansion, and real-world asset integration, positioning Crow as a potential sleeper crypto 2025. The biggest deal that Crypto.com have ever made was this week, and they made it with a special vehicle involving, again, the Trump family. Crow will become the utility token of Truth Media, or Truth Social, whatever it's called. We, of course, talk an awful lot about Cronos because... and I can say this now, we've got a few people in here that have been here before. I have said on many, many occasions that Cronos reminded me of Solana 2023. Price was down, people hated on it, activity was low. They had builders who were passionate about building on Cronos. And in the case of Solana, passionate about building on Solana. Cronos's crash down from 90 odd cents coincided with the end of the bull run. Solana's crash coincided with FTX. So not exactly the same, but the same resultant drop. Solana went down to $8. Crow went down to, I think it got as low as 5 cents. So there's not absolute comparisons, but you have to look at the main ingredients. Price down, being laughed at, builders that didn't care and kept on building, price action, usage, all a lot lower than it should have been. And then Solana, of course, had its revival. And I said, many people, Cronos is going to have its time in the sun. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow. The charts I've shown you have shown you it bouncing off that bottom resistance about 6 times in the last 3 years. It's bounced off that 5 cent mark. And now, everybody that stood by Cronos is happy. Why? Because we're back at 30 cents. And maybe we come back down to 22, 25 cents. we're still 5x up from where we were at the bottom. If we hit 50, 60 cents, 60 cents is my target thin of the bull run, that's a 12x on a chain that people hated on. What did they do when this coin was down? They made it 10 times faster and 10 times cheaper. The roadmap for Cronos Chain was released on Wednesday, I think. Wednesday, the roadmap came out. Coincided with what the announcement with Truth Media was. This is not a dead chain. This was a chain that has been building for a long time. And if you've been with us for any period of time, we have been doing Cronos Nights for a year. So we are not like one of those influencers that just comes along and says, hey, I've been with Cronos for Cronos Nights since last summer. So we, I think, have a little bit of authority on saying that we knew this was going to happen. And I'm very happy for everybody on the Cronos chain. Every builder over there deserves this. And I don't think this is going to bring us back down to 10 cents, but we have to retrace a little bit. Base Chain electrifies with QuickSwap's AI staking rollout. This sounds exciting, doesn't it? World's top DeFi strategy vaults now live on Base Chain. Let's make this a little bit bigger so you can actually read it. QuickSwap just integrated StratX, a state-of-the-art decentralized finance protocol in the quest to make DeFi services user-friendly. QuickSwap recently deployed their DeFi suite, or suit, should I say, on Base Chain, backed by a few other people. Base Chain is amongst the quickest rising blockchains focused on AI to agentic technology. I agree. Base is 3 weeks ago, I was tagging Chris on a certain Baldy man's posts about this is how you talk about your chain. I also called him morally bankrupt on Sunday, and I stand by that. I stand by that for listing Kanye West token, but at least he's now coming out fighting. Base, however, is absolutely tearing up trees, and the integration, you're seeing it from a lot of different places. Binance brought out Binance Alpha and its Web3 app. You're seeing a certain CB exchange. They're going to now integrate DeFi from Base into its platform. You've got other exchanges doing the same thing. The trend is to bring kind of DEX and DeFi into the kind of the wrapper of the app of that exchange, whether it be Binance or somebody else. And again, I love that move. I have been asking for a Web3 tab from Chris and many other people for at least 6 months, because that is the future. And as soon as we got Trump, that future had a green light. And that's important. We could not be talking about this 12 months ago under the Biden administration. And now we can. This is how fast crypto moves. So again, very, very, very bullish on StratX with Base. I don't know an awful lot about the project, but the TVL of Base is rising. And if you're going to pick a coin, if you are going to pick a coin on Base, because remember, Base doesn't have its own token, I would pick Aerodrome. Aero, A-E-R-O. That would be the token that I would buy. I don't hold any of it, by the way, but that would be the token I would buy. And the second token I would buy is Brett on Base. They're the two tokens for me that I have heard an awful lot about over the last year or so. And there's probably more now, but they are the two that I've hung my hat on. Now then, I've called this Pith Cell. Now, where I'm from, that would be pronounced Pythe, as in Blythe, because Blythe Spartans are a football team. So I would have called it Pythe, but apparently it's Pith. The same way that isn't it's Ohm, as in home. So you learn a lot when you make videos and you put yourself out there. You learn a lot about how wrong you can actually be. And that's why you shouldn't take yourself so seriously. Right, now, I've called this Pith Cell. Do I have a short? Yes, I'm going to short Hype. I'm going to short Hype. We are going to short Bitcoin on the next pump. And we're probably going to short Crow if Crow goes back to 35 cents. So we're going to short. Spoke to the Oracle about this last night because we're going to start trading again. And if you look at the Bitcoin chart that I had up before, you can see either we're going to go to 96 or 100,000 and then we long, or we're going to go back up towards 118,000, 120,000 and then we short. They're the two things we're going to do, because Bitcoin's going to its bull market support band. Bitcoin dominance is going to go back up between now and the end of September. If those things happen, ETH is back at $36, $35, $3,400, and you should be shorting ETH at that price. In my opinion, not financial advice. I haven't read half of these things from Tariq. Okay, I understand what Tariq's saying. So Tariq is basically asked me, do you buy Crow now, or Syrup USDC, or 50-50? Well, first of all, Syrup USDC is the yield-bearing stablecoin, and you know what? We'll cover these again. All I will say to Packer is I would sell this pump on Pith. That's all I would say. I'm going to go off. We've only got a few minutes left, and I want to talk to Tariq about that question that he's just asked, because that's a more important question. Also, I have made a video which has been inspired by a couple of people, one being the bear in chat and another one who commented on one of my videos the other day. And I can combine them. Right, okay, there we go. Everything is back now. So, this is the strategy as I see it. You have, let's say you have 100 Litecoin. And again, I've been saying this for 2 years to you, Tariq. So I've changed the strategy a little bit, but that's because of Syrup USDC. So you have, let's say you have 100 Litecoin. Litecoin gets to $300, and you end up with $30,000 worth of Litecoin. And then I wear my hat, don't I? I wear my sell hat. And you think, Mike is going to sell, I'm going to sell. And you sell your $30,000 worth of Litecoin, and you sell it for what? USDC, USDT? And what happens then? You don't earn any interest, unless you do a little lockup for 3 or 4%. No. Syrup USDC is a yield-bearing stablecoin. Now, it has risk. Of course it does. It has risk. But it will pay you 6.5% on your money. So if you buy $30,000 of Syrup USDC, in a year's time, you will have $31,800. So you don't lose against inflation, and you're earning an interest in a stable coin. So Syrup USDC, for me, is the end game. It's not today. Today is, if you want to have some dry powder, put it in Syrup USDC. The tokens that I would be looking for over the next 5 weeks on a pullback are all of the tokens that have been ripping for the last month or so. Syrup, I think, could easily go over $1, and it's at 40 cents. What are the tokens we've been talking about? Ondo is going to rip if we're talking about real-world asset tokens. If we do see a correction to 3,600, then we could go to 7,200 on Ethereum. Solana is certainly going to rip with the ETF. XRP is going to rip with the ETF. But you want to buy them on this next leg down, because there's got to be a leg down between now and the end of September. Pack your bags by the end of September. You watch any of the videos from the end of September last year, I was saying exactly the same thing. So you just hold until we look like we're starting to burn out as we leave the atmosphere. When we run out of oxygen, that's when you sell, and we're not there yet. But to get there, we have to come down. So Bitcoin, I mean, yes, it could go, I've said it goes sideways for the next 6 weeks, 5 weeks. But I don't mean sideways in a straight line. I mean 123, 119, 116, 112, 18, 16, 14, maybe 96, maybe 100, maybe 102. That kind of sideways. So it's sideways down. We did it last year. We did it the year before. That's how it works. And then when it's gathered up all that liquidity, it pumps in October, middle of October normally. And then we pump for 4 weeks up, and then maybe we come down slowly for 4 weeks after that. And then the entire thing is done and dusted in 8 weeks. That's plan A. But plan B is I'm wrong and this runs till March. But we won't know until we get near October. So Syrup USDC, that's the end game. So when I sell and take profits, I'm going to be selling and taking profits into Syrup USDC and then aiming at getting 5 or 6%. That's my goal. That's what I'm aiming for. Crow is, as I said, the Oracle's got some price targets for Crow. 22 and 28 cents on the down. And then the next leg up will be 44 cents. That's what he's got. And I don't think we're going to get a leg down or a leg up until the market decides where it's going to go. If Bitcoin goes to 100,000 or 103,000 or 105,000 this weekend, there's no way on earth that the alts are going to rip. They're going to come down heavily. Maybe we even break $4,000 on Ethereum. But if Bitcoin pumps today, because it's the last day of August, the last working day of August, if we have a pump back to 116,000, then maybe the alts recover as well. Maybe we get a 4,600 Ethereum. But don't panic. We've got not long left. Exactly. We've got October. And again, this has been, if you think about this, we started on June the 26th, 2023. That was within 2 weeks of the bottom of the bear market. And I said at the time to the people that I was with, we are starting our YouTube journey in the pits of the bear market. And we've run with you guys, mostly, we've run with you guys all the way from a $12 Solana to a $300 Solana. And we told you along the way that it was all going to happen. We told you about Cardano, we told you about XRP, and now I'm telling you that we're coming to the end of this journey. And that journey is the end of the bull run. And it's going to happen. And even if we run to March, we've got 6 months left. 7 months left. That's it. But we've been doing this now for 25, 26 months. So we've only got 6 months left on top of that. And then that's it. That's it. That's the end of this cycle. And then we will have a period of accumulation, a period of us coming down. And I don't want you to have your bags running into that bear market. And the only bag, the only never sell bag is Bitcoin. For me, the only never sell bag. If Ethereum is at $7,500 on November the 1st, I am very likely to sell half of my Ethereum for that. If Crow is anywhere near 60, 70, 80 cents, I am selling half of my Crow. And it goes for all of the other tokens as well, because cumulatively that's a massive return. I don't mind you having some coins left next year. You know, maybe you didn't dollar cost average out in time, fine. Maybe there's coins that you love, you don't want to sell, fine. But if you are holding every coin that you bought in this bull run, if you're holding every single one of them in August next year, and we are down 40%, you have the only person you can blame is yourself. And the only, not complaint, but the only argument you would have is, I'm holding everything for the next 6 years. And that's a perfectly fine argument. If you've got Ethereum, Solana, Chainlink, XRP, Hype, whatever else, other coins, if you're holding them for 6 years, fine. But we're focused on the bull run. My strategy is sell everything apart from Bitcoin. Yep, absolutely. And if you'd have asked me in January this year, my strategy would be to sell everything. But the world has changed and Bitcoin is the scarcest commodity on earth. And it would be absolutely crazy for me to sell that when I can earn a yield off it. Put it this way. Let's say for argument's sake, I've got 5 Bitcoin. And let's say for argument's sake, we go to $200,000. And let's say, for argument's sake, we don't really have a bear market for Bitcoin because the market is just absorbing all of the Bitcoin being mined. So I've got $1 million in Bitcoin, and I can earn 4 or 5% passive yield on that through an exchange. So I'm making $40,000 or $50,000 a year off a token that's going to appreciate maybe 15% a year for the next 20 years. I am not selling that asset. I do not expect Ethereum or Solana or XRP to do that. XRP could end up being a failed project. Solana could end up losing its market share to Sui. Ethereum could be great now, but what happens if BlackRock decides to move its exchange to, think of another chain, AVAX? Everything can change, but the one constant, I think, is Bitcoin, and that's why I will probably never sell it. And Crow, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I've got my staked Crow on the app, and then I've got my DeFi Crow. And the Crow that I've got on the app is during its unlock period. So what I am likely to do, if Crow, and there's a lot of it, if that Crow unlocks and I sell it all, I will have enough to buy back the card, the Icy White card, and sell. And then the stuff that's in DeFi, I will unlock that and then maybe sell that as well. But again, we're going through a bear market. Everything's going to come down apart from Bitcoin. There's going to be exceptions, but only a few. I think the issue with comparing Crow to BNB, it's a little bit like Noah and the whale. It becomes this mythical beast, like I Am Legend. Okay, Will Smith in the book is the only human left alive, and they're all vampires, and he becomes the legend. And I think we're turning BNB into a legend, and I don't think we should be focused on BNB because it doesn't work the same way. And I think Crow should focus on being Crow and not comparing with BNB, because BNB, I don't think BNB is an exchange token. It's not, and of course people hold it, whatever, and people get the airdrops on Binance from it, and you know, people stake it in DeFi, get all of those kind of things, but they're just not the same. It's like comparing a basketball team with a hockey team, or maybe a rugby team with a snooker player. It's different. That's completely different. I don't think Crow has a competitor in what Crow is going to want to do, and we should focus on that, because then look at the value. I said in a Telegram group this week, is Crow more valuable than Cardano? Cardano's got a market cap of 33 billion and Crow's got a market cap of 12. If we go to 33 billion, we're at about $1 a Crow. Okay? Is it as valuable as Solana, which is what, 100 now, 80 billion? That's a 7x from here. That puts us at $2.12. I don't think it is. I don't think we're anywhere near that. So for us to get to $2.12, which is what the movement is about, we're going to need a blow-off top bull run, and it's not going to stay at $2.12. So long term, easily we've got $1 for Crow. And you're right, it is undervalued because it's the second biggest exchange in the world. But I always argue with people who compare it to BNB because I think it's disingenuous. It's like comparing Ronaldo to George Best or Pele. How is he ever going to live up to that icon? He can't. He can set his own records, he can score his own goals, but you can't compare Ronaldo to Pele. And you can't compare, in my opinion, you can't compare Crow to BNB. I just don't think. There's way more differences than similarities for me. And also, Crow has got the Trump administration for the next 3.5 years, so it's absolutely going to rock it. Like I said before about World Liberty Finance, Crow and the Kronos chain will not fail because of Trump. Simple as that. USD1 is going to be on the Kronos chain. Absolutely, I can hang my hat on that prediction. World Liberty financial tokens will be on the Kronos chain. I can hang my hat on that. Orbi Network, you will be able to stake multiple types of collateral over there. Hang my head on that. Hang my hat on that. So I think there's a lot of positives for Crow. But I mean, this is one of the reasons I don't go into spaces and talk, because I would disagree with everybody all the time. Anyway, right. I'm going to go because it's 12:10. Thank you, everybody. There might be an impromptu Saturday stream. I did a Saturday stream on Binance last week about Maple Finance. I might do another one. Yes, I mean, I speak to Elder Carl all the time about going into traffic. I just know I'd end up. I'm not argumentative for the sake of being argumentative. That's not the right way of looking at it. But two things I've always learned in life is, number one, have an opinion, because everybody's got an opinion, and you know what opinions are like. Everybody has one. And the second thing is make something happen. So if I'm struggling with making content, if I'm struggling with videos, struggling with tweets, I just tweet something and make something happen. And I live by those two things: make something happen and have an opinion. And then have an opinion you can back up, and play devil's advocate sometimes. I'm terrible for that. Anyway, thank you, Danny. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Manjeet. Who else is here? The Bear. Yeah, send me the right wallet address, Bear, and I'll pay you. You're the only person who's not been paid their Mew from the Mew night, by the way. Everybody else has been paid. Danny was paid. Mary was paid. Samurai was paid. And who was the other person that won? Oh, no. Tariq. Sorry, not Tariq. Kishan hasn't been paid. I haven't got Kishan's details. Anyway, have a great weekend. I might see you tomorrow for an impromptu stream. But I've got a couple of videos to make, and we'll see. Anyway, have a great weekend. Thank you, everybody, for coming in, and thank you for making it a pleasurable experience, as always. Take care. When I click the link.